You are now watching Pera Encounters Network. Yeah.
Absolutely.
My name's Chris Blaine from Paranormal Safety New Class. Pen is huge.
Thank you.
Number 70. So scary bugs is a circus in the Scare Fest 2011. And the pen is huge.
I'm paranormal investigator Chris Denman, and the pen is huge.
I'm John Tennant, anomalistic researcher from Realm of the Weird, Paranormal State, the new class, and believe me, the pen is huge.
And PEN rocks paranormal hot squad style. Hot squad out.
Thank you, baby.
Hi, I'm Regina Hardy. I'm the author of Courage of Vampire and PEN Rocks.
There's a shadow on the wall that looks like a man. Lord, that lamp just moved on that stand. I got movement in the cellars, I got footsteps in the hall. There's no time to waste, I better make some calls. I gotta get ready, make everything right, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mike. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. This old house has a long history. It should be real good for activity. And we got the house wired for sound and got motion alarms setting all around. Got a box full of batteries ready to go, and everyone's itching to start this show. Got our logo tees, driving black SUVs, and that one bald guy with a slick goatee. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mike. Well, there's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. Hey, this is your big brother Mike calling. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rider friends are goes hunting tonight. That's right. Go get 'em, boys.
You doing?
Okay, let's try this again. Welcome to our
Yeah.
Pema TV, everybody, now that you can hear us. You can thank the publisher for that one.
Yeah,
producer,
yeah.
whatever his name is.
That high-priced salary he's
Yeah,
getting paid.
that
yeah.
guy. It is September 7th, 2012.
Yes, it is.
And the moon is out there.
Hopefully.
It is.
Yeah.
I checked.
Just some real quick little news, so because we're really excited about our guest tonight, we want to get to them. Just want to remind everybody. All that. Okay, everybody, you can check your tabs up above you.
What are you doing?
You check your tabs up above you for the World TV. Our archives are there. You'll be able to find this show there. Forgot the sound on that shot too. Got a bunch of new shows coming next week. Man Cave Media gonna be coming on Thursday nights.
Yep.
It's a sports talk show. You guys are gonna dig it. It's really good.
It's a boy thing.
Coming towards the end of the month, we're going to have PXP is coming to Monday nights to PEN's Ladies Night. And another show coming on Thursdays towards the end of the month will be Lease on Air with Heather Lease.
Yep.
So stick around. It's going to get good. I'm telling you.
It's going to get crazy.
But tonight, we are joined by
Chris Brulette.
Kim
Kim
Brulette.
Brulette. Totally messed that one up already. Sorry, guys. And Chris Matheny. His name I can pronounce. Are you guys with us?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
here.
we're here.
Okay, I just kind of squished the two together.
So you guys are with and or founded the Research Institute of the Paranormal.
That's correct.
Paranormal researchers, all around good eggs from what we can tell.
And
Okay.
Thank you.
2012's Paracouple of the Year.
Yes.
Thank you.
You know, and that's something interesting that we were talking about that right before the show. We wanted to kind of let everybody hear our opinions. What's it like for you guys to be a couple when you go investigate? Let me throw this out there real quick before you say that, because we've told everybody before, when we go to an investigation, we don't ever investigate together, hardly ever.
Mm-mm.
Very rarely.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, when we do an investigation, we're doing it as the group. We are a couple, but that's not the prevailing factor at that time. So we try to remain professional, but being a couple, you often, run into moments where,
The familiarity
the strain.
strains things a little bit.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, especially because, a lot of people that have never been on investigation or don't know the truth about investigations, emotions can run really high in an investigation. It just depends on the environment you're in and what kind of energies or things you're encountering. And people that are empathic can tend to absorb the ambient emotions around them. Something that's been embedded in the house, and so I wind up finding myself sometimes in very strange moods on an investigation, and it's usually I'm in that mood for a while before I suddenly realize, oh wait, this isn't me, okay. But we have our moments, and the important thing is to not, blow up or do anything that ruins an investigation. Just, pull each other to the side and say, okay, well, we're going to break up, and you go with this team for a minute, and I'm going to go over here and do this, and that ends it.
Well, usually what we do is I'll go one way, he'll go another,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
somewhere in the middle of the night we'll pass each other, quick kiss on the lips, and keep on going. It's like, yeah, see
Yeah.
ya. But, I mean, if you get in trouble, like at the Shanley, I had an issue up on the 3rd floor, and everybody was freaking out, and no, let's get her out of here, and I'm like, no, go get Eric. Eric walks up the steps, looks at me, says, are you all right? I said, yes, it's just my stupid hand. He said, okay, and just kept on going.
Yeah. We've now been, after we talked to some people about that particular incident, next time it happens, we're going to put a pencil in her hand. because it was something was she was basically channeling something through her hand, and come to find out there was a spirit there, or actually it was a man there that had been killed when in the bordello part of the bar bordello part, and he'd actually been cut on the arm so bad that he bled to death, and it was the same size arm. So, but I mean, I walk up there, her heart's not racing. She's got a hand that's going like this. Are you okay? Is it hurt? No. Is it cramping? No. Go downstairs then. Well, I'm okay right here. Then you're fine. And everybody else is like, the power of Christ, and no, we don't need that. She's not, it's not that kind of experience, and people have trouble with that,
Well, and when we're on an investigation, when you're picking up something, you don't run.
Yeah, you don't run from it.
You don't
that's
leave.
When you dig in.
Yeah.
That's when you stand there and go, I can handle this. You go find out what's going on.
And generally, our standard operating procedure is Kim's going to go douse the place just to get an idea of what's there. Now, if we were doing a client-based investigations, anything she finds out with a dowsing, we're not going to pass along. But that's for our benefit.
But like Chris, I'm also empathic.
Right. I go to the deepest, darkest hole and sit down. Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, the basement. People hate it down there. I love it down there. I get along with what's
the place I want to start.
Right. It's kind of like me going down there, and at the very worst case, if I'm actually scaring spirits away, then I'm herding them up where everybody else can talk to them.
Yeah, we were on an investigation where they were like, "Oh, this place is a little." Now, if it were really dangerous, I'm not going because it's not worth getting hurt.
Right.
They're like, "It's really dark in there. It's really creepy. We don't think you should go in there. Don't go in there. Don't go in there." And I'm like, you guys are just saying, "Go, go, go."
Right.
Right.
Of course, I'm going.
Right. And maybe we need to talk about that too. That's something that's lacking with a lot of things, and not shown on the TV a lot is using common sense. It's almost It's almost a superpower now. You do know that, right?
Something that I was chatting with someone earlier yesterday, I believe, about, and it was that people are not being told the seriousness of some of the things that we do and the dangers that can be involved. And so, for instance, one of the things we always do is do a daytime walkthrough. Make sure that we know where all the dangerous places are. We even put caution tape up.
Now, real quick, the daytime walkthrough is a key element for several reasons because the what we call guerrilla investigations, where you don't have permission and you just sneak in there in the night and do your investigation, that's what most teenagers and amateurs do. We frown on that. That's a no-no. That is the last thing you should ever think of. Because like I tell everybody every time, who wants to end an investigation in handcuffs or an ambulance?
Yep.
That's right.
That's just bad. So by getting permission, then you can go out there during the daytime, walk through the building because everything looks better in the daytime than you can see at night. And there's actually a place we've been, and if we hadn't done the daytime walkthrough, there was one floor that was absolutely not a floor.
And you wouldn't have been able to tell by just in the dark.
You would have walked over there and fallen into the basement.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we like to make sure we mention to people when they're learning about investigations. We've given a couple classes at some of the Paracons and so on. And so safety is always a must because it is a very dangerous occupation that we're pursuing.
But
in several ways.
But Chris, you mean we can't review all of our evidence in 30 minutes?
Absolutely not.
Oh man! So the TV lied to me?
Yeah. Unfortunately, they have a creative license to edit.
Yeah.
If you want immediate results, I recommend a voice recorder with headphones that does live play.
Yeah. RTEVP, and they're about $300, and I'm not going to say they're worth it. I'd rather use my $35 Walmart one and go home.
We have a nice $100 and something Sony one that does live playback. So,
really,
well, they probably got it when they first came out before they realized that they were actually going to sell.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or David Roundtree mentioned them.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they did with the CMOS on the Sony cams. But anyway, we won't get into that.
Yeah. So anyway, when we were talking about couples in the paranormal, on investigations, I really haven't found it a problem because we know each other enough to know our limits and to also know what we're capable of and how to complement each other on an investigation. Some people are better at doing this, and then some people are better cameramen than others, and so on. And what we found most of our trouble is actually in review. That's where we have our most heated arguments. No, it says this. No, it says this. No, I hear this.
Yeah,
But
us too.
we've given that up because now we've realized that different people can hear different things.
I will be right back.
Yeah, different. Everybody's different. But that's also why it's so important to have that validation too, don't you think?
Yeah. But, I can think of one in particular where I was hearing one thing and she was hearing another. And then I think we boosted it. And for those who don't know, when we do an audio review, the only thing we do is a noise reduction to remove static. And sometimes we'll slow it down to see if we can hear it better, but we never alter or change anything. And sometimes after we've cleaned it up, we boost the volume. But this is not changing anything. And then if you know more about it, you have low-pass filters and high-pass filters where you can eliminate certain frequencies, but you're still not changing the sound that's there. But when we cleaned it up a little bit more, they were both there. So we kind of realized everybody can hear a little differently than others. Someone's hearing is a little more acute than others. So I was hearing one particular set of audio, and I couldn't hear the next, but she couldn't hear the one I was hearing and was hearing the next. And when we changed the whole thing, we could both hear it.
Yeah, when we.
And that was the last argument we had over audio.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It was my daughter calling.
Yeah, we argue all the time because he'll go, it says blah, 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 and I'm like, no, there's not enough syllables, or there's too many syllables. You're missing something.
And that's why on our show, on What Lies Beyond on YouTube, we put question marks at the end of a lot of them, because unless it's really crystal clear and we both confirm it and say, yes, that's exactly what that's saying, that's an A, type A, class A, and, then we'll leave it at that. But if it's kind of hard to determine, we like to leave it up to whoever's viewing it.
Or we will
give it a suggestion. I mean, we play it without anything, and then we play it with what we think it is and a question mark. But, it's always up to the viewer to decide what they think it sounds like.
Right.
But I think on our episode, about 80% of them are
pretty close.
quite easy to make out.
Right.
Yeah, there was one that was kind of funny, though, that we thought it said...
Oh, yeah.
Chris was actually sitting on the floor, and it said, get up, what we thought said Chris. And we actually have it in the video as "Get Up, Chris," and I need to go back and I need to change it because it doesn't say Chris. It got cleaned up more by somebody else,
and they sent it
back to us, and it says actually "Get Up, Twerk."
Well, actually, one of the first visits we made to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, I believe Tommy Golden had an ovulus, or was it a puck?
No, it was the ovulus.
It was an ovulus, but he'd had it modified, and by modified, he'd had the vocabulary. Anything having to do with the paranormal had been removed from the vocabulary,
and anything that can be construed as a bad word was removed.
Bad word was removed, and he also had all the measurements. Any kind of fifth or any kind of measurement type thing had been taken out.
Okay.
We're sitting there live on air, and there was a group in front of us standing there, him and Dr. Jim and Tommy and a bunch.
Was sitting with you at the table.
Okay, and a bunch of them were standing up against the wall, and I said, "Okay, who are these guys?" And it
clear as a bell, it says.
Clear as a bell, it said paranormal retards, and it said it like 6 times.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Now the same along the same lines for 15 minutes before that. Very specific questions were asked about Kim's past. And
no, it wasn't my past. They were just asking questions, and it was all.
But it was coming up with answers that were specific to you, and
it named my grandma, my grandpa, my mom, what my mom had died of, or what my mom had when she was little, the school I worked at, and something else, an uncle or something.
So it was really, really serious there for quite a while, and then Kim asked a lippet question, Who are those guys? Paranormal retard. Yeah, I mean, it was funny, but then it was kind of poignant because it's almost like the spirits could sense the energy and knew to be joking about it also.
And neither one of those words were in there.
Yeah,
they'd both been removed.
Yeah, that's what was trippy about it.
And we thought it was funny, so every time we turn it on, we'd ask them the same question with these guys around. It would answer the same thing every single time.
Probably the most personal thing that happened with regard to Chris and I together at an investigation was that in the original time that we went to the Montgomery house, in that investigation, Chris has a spirit guide named Red, okay? And Red has never spoken to him that he remembers.
Well, not so much in words. I have gotten suggestions from him. There was one time in particular when I believe he saved my life in Iraq. I was a soldier in Iraq.
Right.
And there was a time then that he communicated with me. So when I said in the video, I've never heard your voice, I was actually mistaken. I don't know if it's his voice, but I have heard either thoughts or some kind of suggestion from him. But in Iraq, he did, I guess, speak to me. But I'm human, and I wasn't thinking about that at the time. So when we shot the video, I said, Red, I've never heard your voice. Why don't you speak to me? Just say Red. And nothing happened. So you can go ahead and continue. I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, so basically about 2.5 months later, we are up in Bellbrook, Ohio, and we're doing an investigation at a museum, and we have this spirit box sitting in front of Chris, and we'd had a majorly active spirit box session with what we believe to be a 13-year-old boy named Sean. But anyway, it went kind of silent for a while, and then we sat it in front of Chris, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, it's been saying nothing for about 5 minutes, and it says, Chris.
Well, I do it better than you.
You do better.
They set it down in front of me, and I was doing the EVP real-time playback, and the PSB7, when they set it down, it was really quiet, and all of a sudden it just went, Chris, Red. And the moment it said Chris, every hair on my body stood up, and I felt like I'd stuck my toe in an outlet. And then when it said Red, I was actually overcome with emotions. It was strange because it was like elation and sadness and all these different things mixed together. And I couldn't really talk at that point, but I was pretty much in shock that. And then it was later when she was reviewing the footage of our investigation.
The first investigation.
She was like, Chris, you remember that at Bellbrook? And she shows me that, and she goes, well, remember this? And where I said, just say Red. So that was actually some kind of correlation between two separate investigations, 2.5, almost 3 months apart.
Yeah, it's kind of strange when they call out your name.
Yeah, but the thing that not only was it the fact that it said Chris clearly, and Patrick Burns was there.
Yeah,
I mean,
Scotty
Rourke. There were so many people there that heard and witnessed this event.
Rob Murray.
So that they, it's not like it was just us out on an investigation. I mean, and it was in the middle of the day as well.
Mm-hmm.
So to have the fact that it said my name and then said Red, which since I've been like 6 years old has been the name I've been called. I guess he's a spirit guide. I've always thought of him just the ghost that followed me. But yeah, I thought that was pretty remarkable. And then talk about coincidence. We got called in to do an investigation at a mill here in our own hometown. And so, when you do a proper investigation, you investigate the history of the property, the history of the building, and the people that owned it and built it and operated it. And and once again, for those that don't know, that's so you know what questions to ask when you get there. It's a way for you to try to draw them out and connect with them. So kind of stepping to the side a little bit, my family's been in this area since the late 1740s. And they were at one time fairly wealthy cotton and tobacco merchants and farmers. They owned 3 mills. And in the early 1900s, in 1903, he took over.
Yeah, 1903 he took over. And
so this mill that we got called to investigate, we were doing the research on it. I think we'd done a preliminary investigation just to see what was going on to begin with. Then we did some more research and found out that the reason my family wasn't rich anymore and that we didn't have any of the property that we used to have was because my great-great-grandfather had been the last manager of that mill that we were investigating. And when the mill went under, he lost everything. And this is the first cotton mill ever owned and operated by freed blacks in America.
Wow.
So it's a historically significant building.
mm-hmm.
And as it would turn out, I've been looking for those answers for about 25 years as to what happened to all this property my family supposedly owned. And it would be an investigation that would help me unlock it.
Right.
Yeah, without even searching for us,
I had given up looking.
Yeah, the mill, the people at the mill contacted us. They were friends. We actually went to high school with them, and they contacted us about doing the investigation. And so it was through that we found out. So it wasn't even by our endeavors initially that we found the information out. So it's kind of like the answers found us.
Well, they say everything happens for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I really believe that more than ever.
Yeah, and you know, it is important. How can I say this? It is important that we do repeatable,
quantifiable
and verifiable investigations when we go out. There's also a reason why the metaphysical side of things has been around for thousands of years. There's something to it, folks.
Yeah.
And it's going to take teamwork between the sides, because I know we're definitely not the it's got to have batteries or it ain't right crowd. You know, we definitely know that it's going to take both sides.
I use dowsing rods. I mean,
yeah. Well, almost every show we do, they always ask, well, what's your favorite piece of equipment to use? And my actual answer is myself. I am my own best instrument. When you walk into a place, is the hair on your back of your neck never stood up? You know, the skin is a sensory organ. And if we were to just work at it a little more, pay a little more attention, and as paranormal investigators, I've discovered that the more we're in the field and the more open we are to it, the more sensitive we become.
Well, it's like a muscle. The more you use it.
Yeah, the more you use it, there it is.
Or senses where you used to, like blind people who are more acute at their hearing because they work at it, you know.
And deaf people usually have better eyesight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so, I've always felt that there's an odds between science and religion, of course, you know, but I think that there's a way that they can work together. And that and it's not going to be necessarily those two groups getting together. It's just going to be people such as myself and other like-minded individuals that are going to realize that it is possible, that there is truth in the Bible or other scriptures, whatever people's particular religions are. I don't discriminate. And science. Science does not have to be so, you know, because we find out, and I think it was Einstein said that everything we hold to be scientific law now in 1,000 years will be mocked and ridiculed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So science is not as rigid and firm as we think it is. It is an ever-changing and fluid field. And that's the mistake people make, is things move so slowly, they mistake it for being solid when everything actually is fluid and changing.
Right.
And like with the paranormal field, it's going to be people that come forward and say, well, I think that, you know, that the metaphysical and the spiritual and science can work together, because keeping them separate is a mistake.
Yes, it
that
is.
The next great frontier is going to be the merging of science and spirit. And that's where the discoveries lie. You know, there's a whole other world of physics that I believe exists that we don't even recognize yet.
Well, let me ask you this. I know Kim and I have reached a point where, and when I say Kim and I, so nobody gets confused, this one right here next to me. Kim and I have reached a point where it's not that we don't care what people think, but we don't care what people think.
We don't need to post something out
Right.
there and draw a circle around it and put arrows or put 10-minute clips of, you know, a tree brushing against a window to say we've done something.
Yeah, we've reached a point to where we have a group that if we have questions or we need validation or we just want an opinion, we'll send it to them. As far as having to have everybody get in a line behind it and say it's right, I'm beyond that.
Right.
And we know there's something there, so we're at that point, and I think there's a whole crowd of us that are like this right now. But there's a whole group of us out there that know something's out there. We want to know the how and the why.
Yeah.
The mechanics.
We talked
Exactly.
about that earlier, that we were, you know, we have developed these theories. And just like we were talking about a little while ago about the quartz crystals, you know, we actually had a lot of activity up in, that was cyclical every 2 to 3 months for almost 2 full years in our apartment, almost like clockwork. And then we unpacked some boxes from storage at the beginning of the year, and we haven't had as much activity at all. We've had hardly any. And the only thing that we can attest to, the difference is that we have about 6 of these huge quartz crystals that he had unpacked. Which, I'm not saying that it's definite, but what we're going to do is we're getting ready to move again. So what we're going to do is pack them up, and we're going to do a little experiment, and we're going to keep them in storage for a little while and see, especially with the move. It was about 6 weeks after we moved in together that we started having enough activity that was like off the chain. I mean, every single day we'd have 5 or 6 things happen, including seeing anomalies, including black spheres that manifested in our apartment, white spheres that manifested in front of us in our apartment, shadow people, and other things happening right in front of us where we both saw them. So, and not just us, but other people that visited saw them. So it wasn't even just us. We had stuffed animals literally move. We became a gang for about 5 weeks where there was a stuffed animal, and we would literally put it somewhere. We would all look at it and say, okay, this is the way it is, right, everybody? And we would take account of it. We would leave, go get something to eat or to the store or something. We'd come back, and the thing would have been completely turned around, moved, brought into another room or something.
Yeah, and it went on for about 2.5 weeks.
No, it was longer than that. It was about 5 weeks that it went on. Yeah, it was about 5 weeks I took account of it. So, and then I get it stopped. So, but there's things that we have wondered why they do what they do, and so Chris and I have come up with some theories. One, if you want to talk about the vibration.
Well, sure, and like I just want to throw this in. We want you guys to make sure that when you're on Pema TV, we want people to know what your perspective is. That's one thing you had mentioned earlier. One of the most important things in the paranormal is it's not going to be the battery power stuff. It's going to be the people using it.
Right.
So we want people to know what you guys think. So what do you guys think we're investigating when we're out there?
Well, I think it's a number of things. It depends on what the claims are, and like when doing personal claims, I think it's pretty much accepted that there is the poltergeist thing, which is actually a human effect. Usually some kind of pubescent teen manifesting extra abilities. And then when it comes to the spirits and investigating an actual haunted location, I think a lot of times Kim and I have this theory, and it actually goes along with vibrations and atomic structure and atomic subfrequencies. But most of these homes, especially the older homes, you find a lot more natural and organic materials in, like wood walls and plaster and things like that, instead of all this, fiberglass and metal and so on. And these organic materials, we kind of think that they're like sponges for the energies that are produced around them. So if you have a place like Waverly or Linda Vista and some of the other places where you've had lots of trauma and emotional outlet, places where people have been murdered in a room, that's a tremendous outlet of emotion and anger and sadness and all this stuff, and it could very well be soaked into the organic materials around you. So that many years later, when this crew comes in to start restoration, they start cutting on this and tearing stuff out and stirring up. And it's just like, I see it just like dust. When they start doing these renovations, when you tear down that wall and the dust goes billowing out through the air, why can't the energy be doing the same thing? And that's why you start seeing manifestations and things moving and apparitions, because you've disturbed that energy. And then another one is the intelligent haunt. And that can be a whole different thing altogether. You could actually be dealing with past spirits that are lost and inhabiting a place and so on. And I think that we use the term demons a lot, okay? I have personally never, to my knowledge, encountered a demonic force on an investigation, and I really hope I don't. I don't care to tangle with the demonic. I'm pretty satisfied with investigating paranormal as it is. And as far as the demonic goes and these intelligent haunts, I think that some of them, the residual ones are like the tape players lost, is absorbed into the materials, and they play over and over, especially when disturbed or maybe moon phases. And then the intelligent ones are the ones that could be lost or attached to a particular object or place.
They actually have intelligent responses to what you're discussing.
Yeah, and I don't think that those residuals have any kind of perception. They don't know you're there. And then an intelligent one does. And it's either, I feel, someone who has passed on but has not gone on, and they're stuck here. And I also believe that there are certain kinds of energies that I think have been around on this earth for a long, 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 long time. And they are the sources for a lot of our mythologies, like maybe the genie, vampires, and all these things that go bump in the night have an origin somewhere in common mythology. And I think that there may be these malevolent energy forces that have been on Earth and been mistaken for demons and mistaken for monsters, and they are out to cause harm and mischief, because we get complaints. We get people asking us for help. I have a malicious spirit in my house, and it's done this, and it's done that. And I don't necessarily believe that that is the spirit of a person. It could be the spirit of something that's never been a person.
But it could be, and there have been times where we have run into people that, spirits that we believe were intelligent responses, and yes, we have run into malevolent spirits.
Well, I'm not saying that all of them.
Right.
It's a mixed bag. It's just like the population of the Earth. The population of the dead is some of everything, and we're trying to understand it. And I actually do lean toward there being some kind of intelligent energy that's been around since the dawn of time, and it is responsible for a lot of the bad mythologies and a lot of the negative experiences and stories that we've grown up with.
Well, and I think some of the demonic things are quite possibly animals. Because most of the time you hear someone go, oh, well, I heard a growling. Okay, the area you're in, couldn't it have been a bear? Couldn't it have been, a big dog or
growl? We had a really, really, really scary instance one time. I was sitting on the foot of our bed, and I was facing Chris. Chris was sitting where he would normally sleep. He was sitting up, and right behind my right shoulder, there was this growl, and Chris...
Yeah, I knew this was coming. I always get this.
We're talking about growls.
So she's facing me, and this growl was so distinct that I could actually place it in the air, just over her right shoulder, about 1.5 feet away. And it was just so loud and so distinct. I actually looked right where the sound was coming from, and I was in shock, but this is what it sounded like.
And it didn't just happen once, it actually happened twice, and it was so close. I could feel the vibration on my neck and in my eardrum.
And when it did it the second time, she jumped.
Oh my God. At the first time, I was kind of like a deer in the
She froze,
I froze, and then the second time it happened, I jumped straight up in the air and landed in his arms like, Chris, hold me.
I'm just saying, some of them could be just animals. Because a lot of them, oh, well, we got this growl, so it has to be a demon. Well, what else did it do? Nothing. Okay, maybe it was just a dog.
Yeah, and we have a lot of
not what you heard, but I'm saying on some cases.
A lot of our friends within our network too. Every time a new paranormal movie comes out, there's a sudden surge in the huge number of cases that have that exact same thing going on. When Paranormal Activity come out, all of a sudden everybody's bedroom was, oh my God. So some of that has to take into account too, how the public views stuff too.
Yeah, there is that.
You know, because we found out tonight too, folks, that Chris and I share a word. We both use the word sheeple.
Sheeple. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you go into a fast food restaurant, do you really need a little corral and turnstile to know how to walk into a register and put your order?
I make the cow noises when I'm walking through it. I do it at a bank too. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I concur.
Especially when you walk in and there's nobody there but you.
Yeah.
I know, and then when I have to leave, they want me to go all the way around here and take a tour through the dining room just to go back to the door that's 5 feet from me.
Right.
So when there's no one there, I just kind of turn the Bojangles sign and walk on by.
There you go. But you know that's something that's something very important to bring up. Is we talked earlier about how important it is to do a daytime walkthrough, how important it is to be safe when you go out. It's important to think too, people. Don't do stupid stuff. Perfect. A year and a half, 2 years ago, there was a team in North Carolina that was killed.
Yeah.
There was a team in North Carolina that went out to. There was a haunted train trestle. It was a site of a massive train derailment. Hundreds of people died, and they went out there on the anniversary night because there's supposed to be the ghost train that goes by. Nobody checked the train schedule. This was a train-only trestle, which means there was no walkway on either side of the tracks. So they went walking out across. Well, they got 3/4 of the way across, and here comes a freight train doing 70 miles an hour.
Nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go.
There was like five. I think there were 5 people total that were on the trestle.
3 of them made it.
3 of them made it. One of the ladies, the guy that was at the very back, I guess as much as I say this, the slowest guy in the group.
He was actually the founder of the team.
Was the founder, and he actually was able to scoop one of the ladies up, and he ended up throwing her where she landed and fell down a cliff a little bit and got hurt. But she wasn't killed by the train because he was immediately hit by the train after that. Wow. And all of that happened. All of that happened because nobody checked the location. Yeah. Nobody. I mean, it's deadly. We're deadly serious about what we're talking about.
I mean, that's like going out to some abandoned airport or to one of these smaller airports at least, and running around on
the tarmac. Yeah.
The tarmac without checking a plane flight.
Right.
Right. Well, that's one thing we were talking about earlier with regard to the shows and stuff, and people don't take consideration for the dangers that are out there, and it's not right. They don't let people know what the dangers are because people just go out and they think, oh, I can do this, and so they just go out and they start, but then they don't realize that there are all these things that could happen to them, and some of them you're not even necessarily aware of.
That's right.
Someone had a question. They wanted to know if there was a phone number that they could call into.
I don't know. I don't know. Eric
Yeah,
question.
Sure.
Are they in the chat room, or are they asking you?
Actually, they messaged me on Facebook and wanted to know if there was a number that they could call in.
615-692-1262.
692.
All right.
1262.
So, that's one thing that to me is a disservice to people, that people have just gotten so enamored with the rush of, yes, I mean, when you get some great evidence, it's awesome. But the thing is, what people don't realize is it's a lot of work to get that bit of evidence. It's not something that happens in a matter of an hour, sometimes. Now, the Montgomery house was a little bit unusual. We had a tremendous amount of activity that night. And the times that we've gone back, we've had a lot of activity. Chris was actually grabbed, and is scared. He jostled him for a minute.
And not grabbed in a good way, I guess.
He grabbed on the side. He said he felt like his hand was sitting there.
Hi, Paula. She's watching us right now. It was at the Montgomery house, actually. It was during the first investigation. And it was I guess it was pretty late into the investigation. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting on the floor in an upstairs bedroom, and we were doing an EVP session. And Kim saw an anomaly come by me, and she called it out, and then in review it was actually 2. One followed right after the other. But she said, oh, I just saw something go right in front of you. And I started to say, I feel it. And I lifted my arm up to see all the hair standing up on my arm. And at that moment, I felt a hand grab me on the hip. And on the video, you'll see me look under like that to see if our junior investigator was playing a joke on me, which, by the way, she knows is a no-no on an investigation.
But she wasn't in the house.
But she wasn't even in there, so there was no one behind me. And I did a dude run. Jump up. I jumped.
You didn't get very far, though.
I jumped up real quick, and I took about 2 or 3 steps, and I realized, oh crap, I'm an investigator. I can't run.
Well, hey guys, we've got that video that you sent us for the Montgomery house for the evidence. You want me to play that for everybody?
Sure.
All righty. Well, here we go, folks. Here's the evidence. This is all the evidence you collected from the Montgomery house?
Probably not.
Not everything.
Well, not everything, but
we have enough that we're doing another episode.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go, folks.
What's your favorite song? What's your favorite song? What's your favorite song? Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's awesome, guys. And let me ask you a question. Did you have fun doing it, the investigation?
Oh yeah. Well, we'll say at first it was a little rough because we were mentioning earlier about empathy and everything like that, and when it comes to empathy, you actually you can.
I'm a victim. I'm a victim of my surroundings. Yeah. And apparently, when we started that investigation, we were the very first people to ever investigate that place.
Right.
And I'm not sure what was going on, but I was great when I got there. I was excited to be there. It's fresh territory, and it didn't take minutes, and my mentality began to change. And suddenly I became really agitated, and I stayed agitated for a long time. I was in a bad mood. I didn't want to be doing this, and somewhere along the night it dawned on me that these weren't my emotions, because I enjoy what I do. And then I was able to put it into perspective, and it just went away, and the rest of the investigation was great. But up until that point, when I finally realized, wait a minute, this could be some kind of outside force oppressing me, and I at that moment, it went away, and the rest of the investigation went smooth. But we did have some technical difficulties that were unexplained. We had a at the time, it was a 4-camera cameras running, and we had the FLIR thermal camera, and it's the same we see on TV all the time. And all of the data from those files on those particular pieces of equipment was corrupt and unusable. So, and we didn't understand how that happened. But you know, stranger things have happened to equipment. That's why I always say, you know, I am my favorite piece of equipment.
That's you know, and I have to concur. The last trip we had at Old South Pittsburgh, I set up a sound recording experiment using 2 different kinds of microphones, and I set it in a known active area, and started everything, walked away. I actually have 45 minutes of nothingness, and not even 45 minutes of nothingness, white noise running in the background, nothingness, nothing. Wow. And then it just starts. And it wasn't an automatic shut off by the laptop, because
up in recovery.
Yeah, because if it had been, I wouldn't have had the hour-long recording that I had. I would have had 15, 20 minutes or whatever it ran until it shut off. So it was on. Why the delay? So I do understand, and it's hard to explain those things away. All you can do is really document them. That's why you were saying you consider yourself the most valuable piece of equipment. Behind that, with us, I consider this to be the most valuable piece of equipment: a pencil and a piece of paper.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we have notepads, and we like to take notes on everything we do.
Yeah, because once you document it, then not only it adds validity to what you're doing, you don't have to remember who was there. You know who was there.
Yeah, exactly.
And someone earlier was talking to me on Facebook requesting an investigation, and she actually asked me what our fees were. And I want to say at this point to everyone out there on Facebook and the internet worldwide, whoever sees this, if a paranormal investigations group wants to charge you to help you in your home, then I would consider looking for someone else. Because I know plenty of teams out there that are just like us. We do not charge for a home investigation when we're trying to help you.
Absolutely.
I just don't see how that's right at all. It reminds me of the movie Frighteners.
Yeah.
You know, what am I charging you for? Okay, if you want to make a donation to us, we accept those, and we'll give you a receipt for it. But we are not going to say it costs you this much to get it to come out. If you want to help us with some gas money and whatnot, if it's that far away, we accept donations, but otherwise we're just here to help.
Or feed
and
us.
If someone tries to charge you, you need to reconsider.
That's right. That's ethically, morally, that's like guaranteeing that I can go into your house and I can pass over spirits. Prove it.
Yeah, see that, and I'm not promising I can go in there and get rid of them, but I can go in there and document the activity and what's going on. I can do the research. I can try to help you come to terms with it and understand what's going on. And if it's something that really, really needs to be addressed, we have people we can talk to and put you in touch with that can try to resolve your situation without a fee.
Yeah, and if it's more, exactly, if it's something that we can't personally handle, we know people that can come in and help you handle.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have a community that we draw from. We don't
Right.
we don't say that we know everything.
Right.
You know, it's a learning. Everybody's
No
learning,
one,
you
no
know,
one knows
nobody
everything. We all, and that's what we love about Paranormal Unity. The people that truly believe in Paranormal Unity and are willing to help each other
Right.
without what's in it for me.
Absolutely.
That's the people we want to work with.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't care about egos. We don't care about whose show's better than whose and whose is rated better. And, you know, we do our thing on what lies beyond on YouTube and whoever else will put it on because we enjoy it. And we're trying to help educate and entertain a little bit and show what it's like to really be an investigator and the things that you really encounter. It's not about trying to excite the audience with the next big thing. You know, I saw that string tied to that chair. Who cares?
Kim came up with a good explanation for that about a year and a half ago when she came up with the whole black suburban syndrome.
Yeah. Well, a lot of teams that I talked to started getting, probably within the last year, started getting calls from people with paranormal activity. We really need you out here, blah, 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 blah. And then when you show up there, they either ask you where the camera film crew is, or they've invited a bunch of friends over and there's kickback with beer and popcorn ready to watch you do this.
Yeah.
Like it's some kind of personal show.
We've even been at this point, and I wanted to mention this to you guys real quick. We even actually got invited to guide a ghost hunt for a supposed medium, and when we got there to his event, every couple that rolled into this bed and breakfast was rolling in a cooler.
And I told them, and it's 2-story, and it had a real narrow staircase. And I told him, I grabbed him before the third cooler rolled in. We can't do this if they're drinking. If they want to have a drink afterwards, party on, but not beforehand. I refused to do the investigation. I stopped. I sat on the couch and I sat there all night.
And I'm sure you guys that do the same thing.
We've been on investigations that became sideshows, unfortunately, and those just don't work.
No. One of the things that people don't realize is that the more people that are there
that are not serious investigators and know what they're doing, the more risk you run of contamination and not getting anything.
Well, not only that, but it actually deters the spirits. You know, you have less activity because you scare the spirits away.
Well, and it might not even be scaring them away if there are spirits there. And when you have, we were trying to do an investigation. It was supposed to be 4 of us. There were 12 of us. 12 people, and we couldn't get rid of them because this had to do with the owner, and he gave people permission to be there to watch us and stuff like that, and didn't tell us this was going to go on until we got there. So by then it's too late to recall the team and send everyone home and pack everything up. We just tried to make the best of it.
Right.
And unfortunately, they stayed till 3 in the morning, and then they finally left. And we got a few hours of real investigating in, and we got some stuff. But up until that, we got a couple little things, just enough to make them ooh and ah. But beyond that, there was so much noise, and even when they were trying to be quiet, it's just shuffling feet, and someone bumps this, and someone coughs. It's impossible. So, you know, basically, we can't stand that. So we now have firm rules about that.
Well, it goes with the whole thing. They don't perform
this is not
at the snap of your
fingers.
fingers. So when you get even more people sitting there, you know, a little audience, they're like, yeah, no, you're on your own. Have fun.
Yeah. You know, we can't, and once again, my darling wife came up with the whole fact that if the locations you're going to are historic, if the spirits that are there, they would be your great-grandparents. They would be your grandparents. You walk in with a certain level of respect.
You don't go in cussing and screaming and threatening them, because you wouldn't do that to your grandma. Because let me tell you what, my grandma would have taken an iron skillet to the back of your head.
Yep.
Well, and that goes along with the provoking thing and how we feel about provoking. And I've actually been foolish enough back in my younger days, you know, when I was first starting out in this and I didn't know any better. I did a provoking, and it doesn't pay off. But I don't know what everyone else does is their business. But for me personally, I don't do the provoking thing anymore. Because first, if I'm there looking for spirits, the chances are a lot of them, most of the ones I would encounter, have had some kind of tragic ending, and that's why they're a ghost. So if I come in there all brazen and boisterous and insulting, the chances are I'm going to scare them off. They're not going to want to talk to me. And the ones that do want to talk to me at that point are probably the ones I don't want to talk to.
Right.
Yeah. And you just pissed them off.
And they might follow me home. So as far as provoking goes, no one on my team, and on one of our investigations, we don't go for that.
Now there have been a couple times where we've run into malevolent spirits, and that's a little different circumstance. We don't actually provoke and to initiate things, but that doesn't mean that you don't stand your ground, or you're not firm, in response to the spirits. For instance, there was one guy named Carl, one spirit named, he kept saying his name was Carl. And every time, on the spirit, we had the PSB7 is the spirit box that we use. And it's, purpose made for that, to scan and everything, forwards, backwards, AM, FM, different frequencies, different, whatever. But anyway, you don't hear the F-bomb on the radio. But every single time me and any of the female investigators would be on there, it would say, F you, bitch. Every single time. And when the guys went on there, they would just say, shut up, a-hole, whatever. It was not the same, and it was like an intelligent thing, but he was just downright nasty.
Right.
And we were like, we're not going to take this, And that's one thing. But going in like guns a-blazing is not the way to go either.
Do I have time to answer a question for
Sure.
someone? I got a message here that someone's having trouble with a spirit that's hiding things, and in the middle of the night the radio comes on, the thermostat will drop itself down to 60 degrees, and she wanted me to try to explain this online, and she still lives across from the cemetery. Okay, the first thing I would say is you want to rule out mundane before you jump to spiritual. Now, I would say the first thing I want to check as far as the radio coming on, I don't know which kind it is. It could be very simple, but some of them have some kind of timing and alarm clock system. I would check for that. Also, have an electrician, a certified electrician, come out and check your power box and breakers and everything to make sure you don't have some ungrounded wires or power surges, because that can cause some of the things that can be attributed to spirits. It could even go as far as to affect the thermostat. It could be a faulty thermostat. Mm-hmm. Once these things are addressed, if it continues, then more of a direction of this could be something spiritual. Now, in absence, I know because of the economy, not everyone can afford to hire an electrician to just come out and check something if you don't know that there's something wrong with it. And since this Paula here is very low plus, and she actually was the one that called in during the evidence you were showing. And, I don't have a problem with her foregoing the electrician and going ahead and going out there and doing a preliminary investigation to, go ahead and take readings and see what's going on as far as magnetic fields and so on. Right. And then from there, we'll go from that.
And that's exactly what you have to do. One of our investigations, we had to try to tell them to call out the environmental sciences people. And then come to find out their entire house was surrounded by transmission wires. And I don't mean like the going down the middle of the neighborhood kind of pole. I mean like going across the state part of the national grid kind of wires.
The Bigfoot highway.
But they were actually the way their house was.
The front, the one side, and the back were all surrounded by the wires. They had the big transformer.
Electromagnetic containment field.
Their entire 3/4 of their house, the entire family hung out in one quarter in one room and basically in 1/4 of the house. They slept in the other end, but the other end of their house was basically a huge, what's been termed, fear cage.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the one side they hung out in was the closest to the carport, which is the only side not surrounded by it. But then when you went back to the room that was having the most issues, she had 5
telephone lines,
hard wires in that one 8x8 bedroom under a bed.
And there were 4. This is where their grandchild was staying. They had 4 plugs. All 4 plugs had power bars in them, and all power bars were full. So basically, this poor kid he was bathed in EMF. Now, whether or not you believe, and we got another caller. Hello.
Hey, Chris.
There you go.
Is this Chris?
He can hear
Where's
you.
Chris?
Huh?
I'm here. Hello.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this is Joanna Owen. You're on my face page list.
Yes.
On my friends list on the net. Yeah, I was calling in. Oh my God, I had to come outside. It was too hot in the house. I was wondering, what does EVP mean?
Electronic voice phenomenon.
That's what I thought. Because there's somebody on the face page that's Kim Ghostbreakers. They're saying that isn't what it means. It's full of
That's
crap.
what it means. Electronic voice phenomenon. Go ahead, though.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And I had the other night, I had a really good reading. It really surprised me about my father. And the person that read me just nailed it right on the head. I was really shocked. But everything's, I'm going to be getting my own EVP recorder pretty soon, and I'm going to make my own ghost box. Is that safe to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I believe the instructions are online as to how to do it. I think it's only one wire you have to clip on those basic little radios.
Yeah, but aren't they
Right.
And I also recommend the PSB7. I think they still make it. I'm pretty sure they do. That's the one we use. It's purpose-built for the job as a scanning radio.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, I mentioned it to my mom, what I was going to be doing, and she goes, I don't think you should be doing that. It's like playing with a Ouija board.
Well,
okay,
I go,
not
well,
like a Ouija board.
the thing about the thing
no,
you need.
I know. The Ouija board's a Ouija board, but this is totally different. You can actually hear them talking and know who you're talking to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you have to.
And she doesn't understand it. But I'm the one who put that petition up to keep eBay, to have the paranormal on eBay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I signed that.
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah, and it never went. I guess they canceled it. There was not enough signatures because, even I got flack from that from my mom. But oh well, too bad. She has things that she enjoys doing. I have things I enjoy doing. I don't knock her for doing what she likes to do, but she likes to do me that way. Oh well. Anywho.
We actually, you're talking about EVPs. Well, we do like to differentiate between EVPs and what we call SBRs. And EVPs are electronic voice phenomena, which can actually account for, everything that's audio or video. And it's the sounds and stuff that you get back.
Let's be specific. An EVP is an electronic voice phenomenon that's caught on an electronic device. We call the spirit box, when we record the spirit box and it says something, we personally call it an SBR, a spirit box response, because they are two different things. And we as investigators, if we took an SBR and said, okay, we like this EVP, someone's going to not understand, and they're going to think that we're trying to defraud them, because obviously that's a voice coming off of a radio. So we learned early on to go ahead and say that an EVP is something that is not with the assistance of a spirit box.
Well,
when you use a spirit box, then that's a completely different animal.
I know. Well, there are also
Right.
AVPs.
Yep. That's something that very important needs to be mentioned. An AVP is an audible voice phenomenon, which is something that you may hear,
you
but do not
hear it
record.
at the time, and sometimes you can pick it up on the voice recorders, and sometimes you can't. But that's an AVP.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've had a lot of people trying to tell me otherwise. And I go, well, you know what? I got some experts on my phone that will actually tell you what it is. If you don't believe me, I can ask them right now. So that's what I did, and it came, you guys confirmed it, and they went, no, what? No, you're kidding. I'm like, no. So I have a lot of confirmation from y'all.
I mean, if you watched any of the television shows, you would see.
And we hate to even refer back to that, but I mean, it is a good place to verify that it's electronic voice phenomenon.
It's known. That's where it became.
That's one of the very first nomenclatures from the paranormal world. It was one of the very first ones ever to come out of it. Was EVP.
And unfortunately, caller, before you go wasting any of your money, go get a very cheap voice recorder before you go out, because there's a whole dark spiral of audio devices that you could you can go down the list. There's an entire another show in what you could go listen to. In fact, if you want to look for our archives and go look for 2 specific shows, if you'd like to learn the most we can, we have a show with Thomas Fusco, and one of the shows in our archives is with David Roundtree.
I'd also like to add a comment here as well. I read a study. It was another investigator had done some experimenting with the different types of voice recorders, and his results were that he actually got more and better results with the older and more the analog equipment. The newer digital equipment, he still got stuff, but it wasn't near as much and as often as he did with the older equipment.
Right.
Yep.
And he said for the money, the $35 little micro cassette recorder did the best job out of all of them.
Yep.
But that was his study. So.
And that was and a lot of things that can be attributed to.
I even was told to go. I even tried to go on eBay just to see if they had. No, they stripped everything paranormal off the site.
Wow.
Everything.
And one thing
dolls, everything. There ain't nothing paranormal at all on eBay anymore. Because before I went on there, before they did it, I mean, there was a load full of paranormal stuff that you can get, dolls, potions, everything. But now you get on there, and I mean, there's nothing at all paranormal on there at all. And I tried to save it, and I kept trying to tell people, if y'all want, the paranormal, stay on eBay, sign a petition, and we can try to save it. But I guess not a whole lot of people really give a, about it, and I only had like 58 signatures, and I was lucky to get those,
Yeah.
But they took it off anyway.
And one thing you might want to make...
problem solved. Just go to Walmart. It's the only way I could do it. Go to Walmart. But
I was going to comment on that.
I was going to say something, but I can't remember what. It just blanked. But that's one of the reasons why I called in to find out exactly what that meant, if it was actually true. But I know it is. I should know better. But leave it to the experts. They know better.
Well, thank you for considering us.
Anything you shouldn't be doing.
Thank you for considering us. We're not necessarily experts, I don't think. I think Chris and Kim will agree with this. We're not experts. We may be more experienced than you, but we're not experts. There are no experts in the paranormal.
You're experts in my eyes, because you know what to look for and what to do.
We thank you.
Me, I'd be a dumbass going in there with or some type of a device, and something else comes through and scares the what's at. I mean, I'm out of the building.
Yeah,
and you would do it different. You go in there, investigate, and then you're done. Me, I'm going, I ain't going back in there. That's where it becomes expert.
One of my friends from high school commented on my Facebook and said, "Oh, you've got almost 5,000 fans." And I said, "No, I don't have fans. I have friends on Facebook."
Right.
So I don't hold myself any higher than anyone else. I just happen to have a lifetime of experience in this field, and if I can help.
Was you the one that got the part in the movie?
Yeah.
Well, congrats.
Well, thank you. I'll be filming.
Oh my God! I bet that's exciting.
Yeah, I'll be playing the Dark Priest.
Ooh, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, there's not going to be any role play with any of that collar or anything, is there?
Oh my God. Are you nervous?
I was nervous for the auditions I've been on, but I don't think I'll be nervous for the filming.
I mean, I would love to play a dark side. I'd make a mean witch.
They already sent me the script, and I'll be performing a human sacrifice.
Nice.
Nice, number 6.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's all about side, bitch. Oh, my God. Blood coming out. Oh, that's gory. That's cool.
Well, thanks for calling in, caller.
Real
Well, thank
quick
you for letting me come on.
for
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you, but really quick
Thank
on
you.
that for your the audio recorder thing, the digital video recorder. One thing you want to make sure that you do is that you get one that you can plug directly into your. Do we lose you? No.
No, she can still hear you.
Okay. Okay. That you want to get one that you plug directly into your computer. Because we had an older one that didn't have a direct connection for the computer, and you would have to literally physically play it and
Okay, now
record it.
hold on. Now there's a different level for that. Okay, so
Right.
you have the cheaper ones that, before you go full force into this, pick yourself up some cheaper equipment and see if it's really what you want to do before you start spending hundreds of dollars on this equipment. Because I'm telling you, RIP has thousands that we have spent on equipment. So it gets pricey, and it gets pricey quick. Now, Kim's telling you that they make audio recorders that have a USB jack that you can plug into your computer, download your files into the computer, and go through Audacity or another program and do all your cleaning and review. If you're not going to be that serious about it, get yourself a cheaper recorder. Don't worry about plugging into a computer, and just do your own EVP sessions and listen to it and see if you get anything. And then once you've got that under your belt and you think it's something you still want to pursue, then look into spending more money on equipment and getting stuff that's computer friendly and so on. But never throw anything away, because all the tools are valuable. Like I said earlier, a guy had did a study where he actually found out that his oldest, cheapest one was the best one. He got the most results with. So different places get different equipment in different places gets different results. We've been on investigations where K2 meters were worthless, which in our opinion they pretty much are worthless anyway, but they still do serve some purpose.
Make a great doorstop.
Meters, things like that went on the charts were completely unusable. So it became a personal experience investigation, because there was so much energy running through the house, every meter was pegged.
Right.
K2 meters are great for holding open the window when it's warm in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had them go off when the radio was clicked.
Yeah.
They're so sensitive. They're ungrounded. They're not designed for what they've been used for on TV. They're not designed for it.
We recommend the millimeter.
Yes.
We have a millimeter. We don't play with the K2s or the
yeah.
ghost meters.
And if you have the most important, this is something else. I'm kind of glad you brought that up. When you have a piece of equipment, start simple so you can properly learn how to use the equipment. Don't have things that you can't explain or don't know how they work.
Right.
We've been on an investigation before. I can't remember the exact model number, but it's the millimeter that actually has an antenna and actually generates a field around that antenna that spirits can manipulate, and it's got the little LEDs that light up, because you know how important that is on paranormal equipment. That
It's got to have lit up LEDs.
Exactly.
Or it's not paranormal equipment.
Exactly.
Oh, this one he found a haunted wooden table, a haunted dead water bug, and a haunted rubber plant, because if you touch the antenna to anything, it goes off.
Yeah, and he was saying there's energy everywhere. That's because you're touching it. Oh, no, that's not right.
If anything breaks that field, it goes off.
Right. And it kicks
It
a
doesn't
field
have
out.
to,
It
it
kicks a
goes.
field out that's field-wise is 5 or 6 inches out from either side of the antenna, of course.
Yeah.
Right. So when you walk up and you touch things with it, guess what? You're going to have all kinds of readings. But you can't.
See,
but with some people, you
You're
can't.
exactly right. People don't know how to use the equipment properly, and they get bad
data.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where can everybody find you guys? I've kind of been flashing this on and off, but it's got your blogspot.com, and they can find you on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, you can find us at What Lies Beyond, the number 4, the letter U, .blogspot.com. And then, of course, our YouTube and Facebook are What Lies Beyond for You. And then we have our Twitter as well, which is a little harder to say. It's basically research kind of squished because we didn't have enough letters. So. Research Institute. But if y'all have any questions, you can also find us at Research Institute of the Paranormal on Facebook as well. So we'll be happy to answer any questions you have, or if you need some advice or need to find somebody that we might be able to help you connect with in your own area to help you out.
And also, we do our What Lies Beyond show, and that's for fun and educational purposes. But we only really do that for historic locations And as far as home locations go,
Right.
you know, we will do a private investigation for assistance. We don't film those for the show. So we want to make that distinction because that will, if we did those for the show, people would tend to want to play things up or whatever and take advantage of us. So we don't do private investigations for our show, so it's not going to happen.
Unless it's a specific.
Unless it is, you know, the holy grail of investigations and we all agree.
Yeah.
Right.
But beyond that, it's not something that we really entertain. We like historic places because there's less chance of anyone trying to be deceptive.
Right.
And Paula is asking, where is your show?
On YouTube, correct?
Our YouTube channel. Now we've been talking with Eric earlier, and we're going to work it out to get it through the World TV Network,
Yep.
I guess.
And you can find it on our World TV channel here. Just look at the tabs right up above us. There'll be one that says World TV.
But give it a little time because they're not on there yet.
Oh, not there yet. Not there yet.
But we'll work it out.
Okay, and I did want to mention something really quick. We've been, you know, we have our own private lives as well, so we haven't had a whole lot of time to dedicate to producing the show because it's been more about reviewing and assisting other people for a while now. And we're getting ready to move. Once we get relocated, we did this at the Stanley Hotel. We did an investigation. We were some of the last people to get to investigate there. And while we were there, it was the Frontier Con, we were able to sit down with a lot of the great people in the paranormal field, the Booth brothers, Natalie Poole, Chris Meggers, Scotty Rorick, Deb and Nick Lance, and the list goes on. You know, and we did a paranormal roundtable about the state of the paranormal industry and paranormal investigations. How do they work together? Are they hurting each other? And the entertainment field, and you know, where does all this stuff go? And everybody was able to sit around, and it was a wonderful display of paranormal unity, the real stuff, because everybody got to speak, everybody's opinions were respected, and it was a wonderful thing to be a part of. And as a matter of fact, we actually ran long on the filming, and no one wanted to stop.
Yeah.
So we are trying to get back out to some more of these paranormal conventions so that we can hook up with a lot of these guys again, and we want to make it a running sub-series to what we're doing. And it'll be a series of paranormal roundtable discussions. Now, the one we've just filmed at the Stanley is my very next project to finish once we get moved. Once I get that done, I'm going to put it everywhere because everyone needs to see that. I think it was a really important discussion, and I'm going to get it done as quick as possible and get it out there.
Yeah. In fact, everybody that was involved said it was almost like this magical
It was like a magic moment.
In time. It was weird, you know.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Incredible. I mean, it was very positive, and it was just a very unusual experience.
And you get to see, you know, especially with the Booth brothers, how actually intelligent they really are, and it was a wonderful discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And to get to know these people more in depth as to compared to what you see on just the TV shows. You know, I learned a lot about Natalie Poole and what happened to her on the Ghost Hunters Academy, and you know, it's a real eye-opening episode that we're going to be putting out. I think it's going to be something to look forward to.
Well, the Booth brothers are really fun, and
Yeah.
Philip made a lovely bridesmaid.
Yes, he did.
They're great guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a roundtable here a couple of times too, and it's like you said, it's everybody preaches about it, and we're almost to a point to where it's time to stop talking and start walking.
Yeah. Well, you know, and with our show from the very beginning, we always said that one of the ideals behind our show is we embrace all the other paranormal teams. We are not in competition with them. I don't care how many paranormal teams are here in North Carolina. We've heard tales of one particular team that wants to be the only one and the premier team in this area, and frankly, we ignore it. Okay, if that's how they want to be, then they can go their merry way. We're here. We're interested in sharing with everyone, and the idea behind our show is, you know, right now we've just done the historic locations. If you have a historic location near your team, and right now, because, you know, we don't make a lot of money, it needs to be in the southeast, but we're willing to travel specific distances to go and do investigations. Like every team has, like we have the Montgomery House. Almost every team should have their own favorite location that they've investigated 5 or 6 times, and they know everything about it. They know what works there. We want to come there with you and film an episode of our show and show and highlight how other teams do their jobs. What techniques do you employ? Maybe things that are different regionally. And that's always been one of the premises behind our show was what didn't we like about the ones on TV, take that out, and then add the things we like from other groups. So this is a place for everyone to get together and share. That's what our show and our group is about.
And learn off
egos.
And learn off the other teams.
Yeah, that's the only way we're going to get anywhere in this field is if we all start sharing this information. And not just the general information we see on the TV shows.
Right.
We need hard numbers, data that can be crunched, geographic locations, GPS coordinates, moon phases, temperatures, electronic fields, so on. It all goes and goes.
Yeah, and we've talked to people like David Roundtree and people that we respect in the field about doing some of these things together and getting some people, including neurologists and other people involved, in order to help get some more scientifically accepted data to back up what we're doing. So.
And also, I have this dream of I call it the World Paranormal Project, and I've heard it was another guy trying to do something like it, but I don't know where it went. But eventually, I want to try to get together a questionnaire where it's a form, and all the paranormal groups that want to participate get these free packets. And when you do an investigation, you fill out this packet as you're collecting your evidence, and you record it on here, and you record on the packet, and you record the moon phases, geographical locations, so that we can go with the NSGS and check and see what the mineral contents and so forth are, and tidal phases, and there are different things that we want to highlight so that we can start putting all this information from around the world. I'm not just talking about America. I mean, around the world, paranormal teams are everywhere. And if they'll start filling these packets out and sending the information back or emailing the information back, we can start to build a graph and scales and try to plot activity phases. Because it's an idea I had from my own life is that activity in my house always seemed to ebb and flow, come and go. Mm-hmm. So why couldn't this be a worldwide phenomenon and we could begin to predict the strength and times of activity? Just a thought. It's worth looking into.
No, it's an awesome idea. We do need a clearinghouse for the data. We need a database, but it's making it happen. And once again, like you said, I know moving is hell. Trust me, I know. If they made prisoners do it, it'd be cruel and unusual punishment. So I can totally understand. And it's gonna happen. It's just people have to be patient. This is not something. As much as I'd say this, human beings have been on this planet living and dying for how long now?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, it's not like we're making any money, really, doing this. So we're not. We have normal jobs, we have normal lives. So it's kind of something we have to do in our extra time, which we really don't
have a lot of.
So.
And when you move, you have even less.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Fortunately, I'm getting a jump start on it. I actually started today. I'm going to move over the week.
Yeah, you have fun with that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love those stairs.
We've been packing for weeks.
Well, guys, as much as I hate to do this, I do have another show I got to do here in about
30 minutes.
30 minutes, and I've got to get ready for it. Thank you guys so much for coming on, and we're going to have you guys back. Just go ahead and pencil us in on the calendar. I can't give you a specific day, but pencil us in. We're going to have you guys back.
Okay.
Well, I'd love to be here.
Enjoy it. We enjoyed it.
They do.
And we'll have to, when we get to go through your area, I still want to plan on doing an investigation together at some point.
Or if we can get out that way, we'll let you know. For sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
it'd be awesome.
And anybody out there that needs to contact us, please feel free to do so if you need assistance or if you would like us to come investigate with you at your favorite location.
Yep. And with that, guys, we're out of here.
Yeah, we're scrambling. Have a great
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
night.
It was wonderful.
Have a great weekend. Tune in.
too.
There's always something every night, and be sure and listen to them.
Yep. And Chris, you and Kim, hold on just a second. Have to throw this back out there for everybody real quick. Join us tomorrow night. There's a special Saturday edition of Pema TV on Saturday night. We're having on one of our very, very good friends, Mr. Jason Snyder.
Yep.
And he's a very experienced, got a great perspective on what goes on in the paranormal. So join us tomorrow night. He could never get a Friday free, so we got to bring him in on a Saturday.
Yeah, there is a.
So join us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
And with that, we're out of here. Have a great night.
We're out, guys.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.